The DD Form 214, Certificate of Release or Discharge from Active Duty, generally referred to as a DD 214, is a document of the United States Department of Defense, issued upon a military service member's retirement, separation, or discharge from active duty military. History and usage. The first DD Form 214s were issued in 1950, after replacing the older WDAGO forms and the Navy's discharge documents. These documents, in turn, had existed since 1941. In earlier versions of the form it was called a Report of Separation from Active Duty. The current title dates from July 1, 1979. DD Form 214 is the capstone military service document, as it represents the complete, verified record of a service member's time in the military, awards and medals, and other pertinent service information, such as promotions, combat service or overseas service, military occupational specialty identifiers and record of training and schools completed. For individuals who served in Air National Guard or Army National Guard exclusively, don't receive DD Form 214, but will receive a form called NGB 22 from the National Guard Bureau. DD Form 214 is commonly used by various government agencies, chief among them the Department of Veterans Affairs, to secure veteran benefits, and may be requested by employers should a person indicate he or she has served in the military. This document also contains codes used by the armed forces to describe a former service member's reason for discharge and their re-enlistment eligibility. These codes are known as Separation Designator Separation Justification Codes and Re-enlistment Eligibility Codes, respectively. DD Form 214 is also generally required by funeral directors in order to immediately prove eligibility for interment in VA cemetery and/or obtaining a grave marker and/or provide military honors to a deceased veteran. On September 1, 2000, the National Defense Authorization Act enabled, upon the family's request, every eligible veteran to receive a military funeral honors ceremony to include the folding and presentation of the United States burial flag and the sounding of taps, at no cost to the family. Copies of DD Form 214s are typically maintained by the government as part of a service member's 201 file or OMPF. The 201 file generally contains additional personal-related forms. Available versions. There are two versions of the DD Form 214, usually referred to simply as short and long copies. The edited, or short copy omits a great deal of information, chiefly the characterization of service and reason for discharge, thus the unedited copy is generally desired by veterans organizations, employers, and law enforcement agencies alike. Copies. Service members are given the option of accepting the edited, unedited or both copies upon separation. The most important copy of the DD 214 for the individual is the Member 4 copy. It is the standard form needed to obtain benefits such as GI Bill or Government Employment Priority. The Service 2 copy contains information as to the nature and type of discharge, and the re-enlistment code. This code is used to determine whether or not the service member can go back into the service. For unemployment benefits, Veterans Affairs benefits, as well as for several other services, the member's copy 4 is usually needed. An identical copy to the Service 2, the Member 4, is provided directly to the service member upon release from active duty. The military will not provide a replacement member's copy 4, and any request for a replacement is always honored by providing a Service 2 copy. Other versions of the DD Form 214 include the Member 1, Service 7 and 8, Veterans Affairs 3, and Department of Labor 5. Electronic cost-free copy of DD 214, Ebenefits, a web portal managed jointly by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the United States Department of Defense provides service members with free electronic copies of their official military personnel file, including their DD Form 214. Electronic copies will be provided within 48 hours from the time of request. In order for a service member to request his/hers DD 214 and E-benefits, he/she must have an E-benefits premium account. Paper cost-free copy of DD 214, The National Personnel Records Center is the government agency tasked with replacing lost and destroyed DD Form 214s upon request from a veteran. Requested copies are mailed from the Military Personnel Records Center. Most veterans who separated from their service generally pre-1992 can obtain their DD 214 from the National Personnel Records Center. The NPRC has two distinct tracks available to obtain records for veterans. The first is for the veteran to submit a Department of Defense Standard Form 180 to the facility via mail or fax. The second is to appear in person at the facility. The National Archives also maintains a list of independent researchers who will physically visit the St. Louis facility to request records in person. Corrections: the DD Form 215 is used to correct errors or additions to a DD Form 214 discovered after the original had been delivered and/or distribution had been made. It is distributed in the same manner as the DD Form 214. Distribution: a DD Form 214/215 is prepared in 8 copies and distributed as follows: Copy 1 a Euro Service Member, Copy 2 a Euro Service Personnel File, Copy 3 a Euro United States Department of Veterans Affairs, Copy 4 a Euro Member, Copy 5 a Euro United States Department of Labor, Copy 6 a Euro State Director of Veteran Affairs, Copy 7 and 8 a Euro distributed in accordance with Military Service Department directions. See also, U.S. Military Discharge. References, History, Usage and Acquisition of DD-214s. External links: How to obtain an Ebenefits premium account, How to obtain your free electronic DD-214 and Ebenefits, Ebenefits homepage, SPN and separation codes, re-enlistment codes, National Personnel Records Center, How to get copies of military service records, National Archives, Separation Program Designator Codes, Army Regulation 635-5 Separation Documents,